M-A-N?
F-O-R-E-M-A-N.
Okay.
All right, it's 7.
All right.
YouTube's setting up.
Smile.
And we're live on the
And
YouTubes.
we are... It's starting the broadcast. It says we're on air. There we are. We are on air.
You hit record yet?
I hit the record and I'm hitting the mic button right now. Off-Road Podcast, episode 261, Pro Eagle Jacks.
Tonight, Aaron comes in third. I smoke a joint. And Ben almost joins a Sasquatch commune.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. I'm your host, Ben, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Aaron and Jeremy. How's everyone doing? Oh, and our guest, Chuck.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah, don't forget him. He's the important one tonight.
Yes, he is.
Not at all.
So what's new, Jeremy?
Oh, well, I ended up going out. So it's been like 2 weeks since we recorded, since I had that thing come up on Monday last week. So sorry about that, guys. If you tuned in last week, there wasn't a show. That was my fault. I had some stuff going on with my family that we just I couldn't miss. So we ended up canceling the show last minute. We try not to have that happen too much, but yeah. Anyway, I actually went out to Tahuya both weekends. I went out with I was trying to meet some new people to go jeeping with. Ended up meeting one guy who was pretty cool. I'll probably do some more runs with him, although he's out in Bonnie Lake area. Why do I keep got to meet people in Bonnie Lake? I know. What's with that? Jeez, I guess I just need to move out there. Anyway, so we kind of met up on a fun run. The plan was to hopefully go do the West Loop, which is the harder area of Tahuya. But they ended up having a lot of people who were very new. So we ended up doing a lot of the easy stuff. I did get to do the rock crawl in Mud Lake area because that was the first time I've been out there with somebody who I was good with spotting me through that one. So we ended up doing that one. That was tons of fun. Wasn't too bad.
That is a fun rock crawl.
Yeah, it's big rocks, but they're kind of spaced properly. As long as you stay on your line, you're golden. So that was fun. And then we just kind of did a lot of other stuff. And then I had to get going home. We were planning on going out in the afternoon to do West Loop, but I just ended up it took too long to get all the newer people through. A lady pretty much smoked her clutch on her brand new JL.
No. Oh, no.
So they were telling her to keep it in third gear, and it was like, oh no, that's not the right one.
What?
But yeah, so she pretty much smoked it, like smoke coming out of the clutch.
Oh, jeez.
It was bad.
Yikes.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was the fun run. And then this just a couple days ago, yesterday, I guess I went out yesterday. I ended up going back out to Tahuya with just my son. So it was just me and him. And so we went out to West Loop, did most of West Loop, did one of the rock crawls out there. I still need to find somebody to go out there to do the big rock crawl on Sasquatch Hill. But anyway, I got in a position where I had my don't go alone time. I was trying to get off the trail to go back onto the main road. And there was this one area where it's kind of snaking along a hill, and you're kind of on this running along the side of the hill. And then there was a way to go down to go back to the main road, or you could go kind of straight and continue on the trail. And I'm like, well, I'm going to try to go down. And it was kind of a really steep downhill and kind of off camber. So I'm like, well, okay, I need to be smart about this. So I edged up to the turn and was planning on backing up, but I didn't see a stump that I put my skid plate on and got stuck and couldn't get backwards.
That sounds familiar.
Couldn't find a way to get back. Ended up every time I was trying to back up or do anything, I ended up keep sliding down the hill a little more and getting a little bit more off camber. I ended up just finally committing to it and did the best I can and kind of did a 50-point turn to get myself in a little bit of a better position, but I ended up in a spot where I had my so I was on just my passenger front and my passenger rear and my front driver. I was on a stump that had about a 5-foot drop was where my passenger rear was going. And my rear driver side was about 3 feet in the air. And they kind of down the hill, they have a log that they've dug into the trail to make a ledge. And so my driver's side tire, or my passenger side tire, was about to go off that one. So it was getting a little tippy. I just finally committed and went, well, if I start to feel it go, I'll just gas it out and hope for the best. But I ended up coming down pretty controlled. It definitely teetered a little bit and clenched up, but everything was fine. So don't go alone.
No broken parts. That's the main part, right?
Well, I'm getting to that.
Oh.
So then I'm like, okay, I'm done with the hard stuff for now. I just want to go to Mud Lake, have a snack with the kid, watch the stupidity that is Mud Lake, because there's always somebody doing something stupid in Mud Lake. So we drove out to Mud Lake. I pull in. I'm waiting for this group of dirt bikers to go by. They go by. I start driving forward, and I hear a very loud pop. And I'm like, what was that? So I knew where it came from. It came from the front driver side tire area. So I went over and looked at it, and sure enough, there were pieces of the U-joint cap sitting in my C of the axle. And so somehow I blew up a U-joint cap, just the cap. I've never seen that happen before. But who knows? So I ended up not wanting to spend a whole lot of time pulling the whole drive shaft out on the trail with my 2-year-old son. So I ended up just driving it home. And because by the time I got it off the trail anyway, my lower ball joint was just smoked because it hit it a couple times and knocked the top cap of the lower ball joint off. So now I got to replace a U-joint and the ball joints on that side, but oh well.
Well, now you
time
know
for
they'll be fresh.
They were fresh.
Time for a Pro Eagle Jack now too.
There we go.
Oh yeah.
We'll get there, huh?
One piece at a time.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Aaron? What's new?
Well, last week when Jeremy bailed on us, I tried to do a live show, but my potato internet and potato camera on my laptop really messed us up. So I did a live video for, I think, the 3 people that probably saw it. It was only 3.5 minutes long, and then I went later just to check on it and see how it did, and it was just awful. I had to delete it. So
It was
for
so
those that
bad,
saw
I had to delete it. Wow.
yeah, it was really bad. It was like worse than the original GoPro camera video footage. So
Wow, that's pretty bad.
yeah, I don't know what the deal was. So apparently we aren't good enough yet with YouTube that we can do mobile live videos. You can only do live videos from your desktops and laptops. So I found that out at 7 o'clock when I tried to do the live video. So I quickly had to tether my phone to my laptop, made sure my phone was in the spot of the house that had 5 bars, and it just sucked. So we'll get better. So yeah, I deleted that. So if a few people saw the inside of my podcast room, that's what I was doing. I was giving a tour of that. So Podcast Studio Y it's almost complete. I just have a little bit more staining to do on some already installed stuff on the walls, and then I have to build the desktop. So, and that's going to be a really fun but complex build. I may throw a couple sheets of plywood down temporarily just to get me by, so I can start using it rather than being here in the illustrious bedroom portion of my house.
Where the podcast magic happens.
Yes, podcast magic. So beyond the failed YouTube video attempt, we had a mini bike race for Father's Day at my house. We had a lot of neighbors come out for that. It was a really good time. So it was It wasn't just mini bikes. It was for kids and adults to bring their dirt bikes out to our track and everything. I bet we had 15 bikes out at the track. It was a really
Terrible
good
social
time.
distancing.
I'm pretty sure that all the dust in the air like suppressed the corona that may have been in the air. So
We are
Yeah.
not medical doctors. I just figure we should send out that note.
I'd like to find out. I'd like to find out if the weight of dust suppresses corona. So they did a mini
Covers
bike
up all the
only-
germs.
Yeah, exactly. You fill your lungs with dust instead of corona. They did a mini bike only race for adults. There were 3 mini bikes, and then the 4th person was on like a Honda 50 dirt bike, a little kid's dirt bike. And it just goes to so the mini bikes all were 200 cc and above, and obviously the Honda mini bike was 50 cc's. And it goes to show you how much suspension plays a part in going fast around a track. Where the mini bikes don't have suspension, little Honda 50 did, and it just he lapped everybody. So it was pretty amazing how good he did on that little thing. Also, he's a really good rider beyond that. But I've got some tailbone bruising. I'm joining Ben's club here. Didn't break anything, thankfully.
Oh,
No, you didn't join Ben's club. Ben's club was barely making it half a mile onto a trail.
redemption.
No,
yeah.
I'm talking about when he fell down in his front yard on his mini bike.
In his front yard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never will have.
Yeah. So that was fun doing the mini bike race. I bought a mini bike at the 2 days before the race. It is really hard right now to find mini bikes on Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace. As soon as they get listed, they sell. So super hard to find one. And same thing goes with a go-kart. I just picked up a go-kart Saturday night. And it's a little 2-seater. It has suspension all the way around, and it has a 6.5 horse Predator motor. It's not going to be very fast, but it'll be great for my kids to goof around in the field. I hope we can use it on the motocross track. I'm not sure though if it's got enough power to go up some of the steep jumps. So yeah, it'll be good. Oh, I also last night I bought a new webcam that I'll be able to use in my new podcast studio. Next step up is a microphone. So
Ooh.
yeah, it's getting fancy. How about you, Ben? What have you been up to?
Well, I didn't even attempt to do a live show because I was in Montana, away from everybody, hiding within the hills. But I did attempt to go join a Sasquatch community. Couldn't find them though, but I did find my unicorn trail. I've been trying to do the Lolo motorway for 7 years, and I finally did it. Thanks to Gaia GPS for actually giving me mapping. So I was able to do that. I drove all the way over the border into Idaho, found the Forest Service road, hopped on that, and drove all the way back to Lolo, Montana, and then went and hopped in a pool. Took me about 3 hours. No trees were in my way. No snow was in my way. It's done. It was very what's a good word for this? Underwhelming. It was not challenging in any way. It was a Forest Service road, but it's done. It's over. I did it. I'm happy. It
That's
that much.
That's quite the review you gave it.
Well, no, I wanted to do this trail. I've been, I tried doing it in my Jeep, and then I tried multiple times in the 4Runner. It's just every time it didn't work out because of the time of year, and the sites were very awesome. Really cool stuff to see. It was just, it's like it's a part of the Idaho Backcountry Discovery Route, and just like the Washington Backcountry Discovery Route, there are some really boring sections where it's just some scenery. Nothing challenging to it. You could do it in a mini truck, or a Honda
Stink
Civic.
bug.
Yeah, or a stink bug. So yeah, I did it. I had fun. I spent time with my family. My wife came. She didn't want to drive, but she's been getting time behind the wheel lately. So, it was something we did as a family. I'm happy. And now I'm preparing for the Nevada trip. I got the wife talked into new wheels, so I'm shopping for 35s. Um, so I'm hoping to do 35s before the Nevada trip. And
Oh, you won't need them at all for the Nevada trip.
no, I won't. But I need new tires. They
Okay.
the rubbers. I could probably go without it, but I'm gonna need it by winter. So
Tell everybody to map
I-
out the closest parts stores.
Yeah, I just hate for you to break in Nevada because you went big so far
Yeah.
from home.
And didn't have a chance to do a shakedown run or anything.
oh, I
Yeah.
should have planned to do a shakedown run before then. I'm fixing I'm upgrading stuff as we speak. So actually,
Oh,
things to snorkel. So
I thought of one more thing that I did. Sunday of Father's Day, I was on the Boost Booze and Barbecue show
ooh,
with
hanging out.
Coy and Andy. So that was a good time.
Yeah, I watched that show.
Oh, that's right, you did. You were chiming in.
I did.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's about it for me. I went to Montana. I was happy.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
Well, we want to share one of those listener reviews. This one is from Bama Country Boy. I've not heard of the country of Bama, so I don't know where that's at. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that
It's probably
adjacent to
Alabama.
Chaz?
Anyways, Bama Country Boy writes, great podcast with content for every off-roader to enjoy, good guest selection, and a diverse group of hosts. It is in my normal rotation of podcasts from Bama Country Boy. So, Chuck, would you agree that we've got a good guest selection?
I agree. I think I'm the best one so far,
Well,
or at
he's
least
pretty
so far
biased.
today. Yeah.
So make sure you go over and check out Patriot Patch Company. They have a great selection of patches. They do the Patch of the Month Club. So for $15 a month, you can go and get a monthly patch in the mail with a matching sticker. Recently, they have been doing some really cool off-roading, or not off-roading, really cool series with Charmander, with the Pokemon and Star Wars mashup. So they got the Charmandalorian, the Pika Child, the Squirtle Trooper, and then the Bulba Fett. So those are some pretty cool limited edition patches that they ran. They'll never run those ones again. Maybe somebody in China will reproduce them. Who knows? But if you didn't get into the originals, sorry, but you missed out.
The news is brought to you by PowerTank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
Well, this week for our news is we've got a story here brought to you. What was it? It was on Outside Magazine. Was it Outside Magazine? Also Outside Online, talking about Onex's fight to open up land. Jeremy, you'd mentioned before the show that they were doing this for landlocked parcels.
Yeah, so I really was introduced to OnX when I was doing a lot of hunting, and so I used it for hunting and properties and all that stuff while you're out. They were heavily involved in areas that are landlocked, so it's public areas that are completely surrounded by private, and there are no easements in order to get to the public land. So they were pretty big in fighting to resolve some of those issues and get people more access to more areas. So it sounds like they're doing a lot of that type of stewardship with their off-roading in the off-road scene now that they've launched the OnX off-road app.
Yeah, it's really cool that to see companies getting out there and helping fight for land rights. Um, and Onyx has been one of those apps I've been wanting to check out. Just for the fact of, hey, I go off road enough that diversity doesn't hurt when it comes to apps. And um, Onyx off road seems really interesting now that they have an off road version versus just their regular version, which was just for hunting, and it didn't really have some of the settings that it has in the off road version, from what I've seen.
Yeah, I've heard some really good things about it recently. Also, Dan Cole's been talking about it over on the 4x4 podcast about how it will show you landowners, and it even give you landowners' contact information. If you did want to cut through their land, you could at least attempt to reach out to them and see if they'd let you open a gate and close a gate, kind of thing.
I believe Gaia does something similar too, though.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, on one of their so on the premium with the you can check up it's one of the overlays that has private and government or public lands. You can turn on those overlays and use those. But they're what's funny is they're out of Missoula, and I was right by their office. I drove by it several times while I was over there, so maybe we'll get them on one of these days.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Well, this week we are joined by Chuck Foreman. He is the general manager of Pro Eagle Jacks and an off-road racer. How's it going there, Chuck?
Excellent. Thank you guys for having me on today.
I appreciate you coming on. I've getting to meet you over the phone was pretty cool, and I've been really excited to get you on, man.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So one of the first things that we like to do with our guests when they come on is ask you the fast 5 facts. So these are just answer with the first thing that pops into your head. We'll start off with the first one: new or old vehicles?
Old vehicles.
Summer or winter camping?
Summer.
Rock, sand, snow, or mud?
All the above.
Ooh, that was the first all the above we had. Favorite vehicle brand?
GMC.
And favorite tire?
Milestar.
Interesting. It's the first time we've had Milestar.
Yeah, I work with them pretty good through our whole program. We have a UTV and a Jeep, and I just raced this past weekend in a 4400 Ultra 4 car, and we run Milestars on it too. So they've been pretty good to us so far.
My buddy John Matthews races. Is it 44? I think he's 44 with Milestars as well.
Okay.
He talks very highly of them. I'm looking forward to their new hybrid tires.
Yeah. We like I said, we raced this past weekend. They're really big in the rock crawling and the slower stuff. They grip really well, but this is the first time that they've been on a race truck that was going fast as well. Not that the KOH stuff doesn't go fast, but we saw speeds for 110 miles an hour for 15, 20 minutes at a time. So it was our first time doing that, and we had zero issues with them. So we're pretty happy.
Nice.
Where was the race this weekend?
Silver State, Nevada. It was called the Silver State 300. So it was just outside of Las Vegas. It started in a town called Alamo. So it's about 2 hours outside of, or north and west of Las Vegas. It went up close to the Utah border and then turned and come back down. So it was about 150 miles straight north, and then turned and came obviously 150 miles back.
Nice. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, it was fun. It's a different type of off-road race. When people think off-road racing, it's out in the middle of the desert, and A lot of this was, but it climbs up to some pretty high elevations. So we're running through trees, and it was, river crossing and stuff like that. So it was nice. It's not something that us on the West Coast get to do and experience often. So it was a good change of venue.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was a neat experience.
How long have you been racing?
My dad started racing when I was probably before I was born. So I've been in it since then. I grew up in it. I raced my first race when I was 15, and been racing ever since.
Well, so how did you get started in off-roading?
Like I said, my dad did it. He worked for a GMC dealer, and the owner of the dealership he sponsored a couple of drag racing teams. So my dad started helping him when he was at the dealership, and then he moved over to racing himself, the owner of the dealership, into off-road racing. It was kind of new at the time. And my dad, since he was helping him with the drag racing stuff, had to invite him to come and help him doing the off-road stuff. And it just stuck from there. It's in your blood now. Yeah,
for sure.
Get the itch.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get to do what you guys do, the rough Jeep trails and adventures through the companies that I've been with before, and even some now with Pro Eagle. We've done Moab and a bunch of the other more popular trails, but it's fun. I love it. It was probably 5-6 years ago was my first experience in Moab, and absolutely fell in love with it. I didn't think that going slow and crawling over stuff would be fun, and then I did it and absolutely loved it.
So what was the first vehicle you took off-road?
First vehicle I took off-road was probably a dune cycle. I don't know if you guys are old enough to know what dune cycles were, but it's just kind of like a Trimoto, the three-wheeled ATVs. But yeah, that was my first. I don't know if you guys consider that a vehicle or not, but beyond that, my dad had a Jeep CJ5 that I grew up driving local mountains in Big Bear, California. And then my first vehicle that I raced was a Chevy S10. It was built by General Motors to be a race vehicle and was never even registered on the street. So when I bought it, it had been put in the garage and put on mothballs and stored for probably 7 or 8 years. And I bought it and pulled it out and washed it and licensed it and drove it back and forth to school and to work, and also raced it on the weekends. So that was yeah. So it was fun. It's got expensive, and it was really tough to have to walk to school the next Monday morning because you broke your race truck and your only form of transportation. But it was fun.
Hey, that's what it's all about, as long as you're having fun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you drive now, and how have you modified it?
My answer now is going to be pretty boring. I have a Toyota Tacoma. It's a 2000 Toyota Tacoma, and it's got just a Fabtech suspension kit on it and 33-inch tall tires, and that's about it. I know it's boring, but I commute 60 miles or so into the office. And when you get to experience off-road stuff like you guys do and we do, having a nice, quiet commuter car that you can listen to the radio without having to have it on max and have a conversation with your passenger is kind of nice. So, yeah.
There's a volume besides max?
Yeah, there is.
What's this comfort in a wheeler you're talking about?
Yeah, right? Yeah. We have UTVs and obviously the race truck and stuff, but that's my main vehicle. So it's not exciting, but it gets me there.
Do you have a most embarrassing moment on the trail you want to share?
Oh shoot, I've got a lot of them.
You can share multiple.
Yeah, we were in the Baja 1000 one year and lost power. So the GPS shut off, the lights shut off. It was the middle of the night, and we were following the ocean, and the race course made a hard left and turned away from the ocean. So the GPS shut off just as we made the corner. And little did we know, it only went up about 100 yards and then made another jog and followed the ocean again. But as we were trying to figure out what was going on, I just kept moving for whatever reason, I don't know. And the co-driver finally got stuff to start coming back on. And once the GPS came on, the lights came on, we had realized that we had gone about a mile off course, and then saw the lights of other vehicles parallel in the ocean, and it was on the road that we were supposed to be on. So instead of just making U-turn and driving back out on the road that I just came in on, I decided I was going to cut across country and get back to the race course. And we were rudely awakened by a farmer's agricultural ditch that jumped out in front of us. And I almost made it across. We were about halfway through, and also the agricultural ditch was full of water that was flowing. So it started flowing into the race truck, and it was about waist deep. And so we, were up and out of there, and I stayed in the truck as he went out and ran and tried to wave down the next race truck that came through, and they didn't stop. And so luckily some kind locals that saw us drive into their ditch drove down in their old Bronco, and they were drunk, and it was 2:00 in the morning, and we were scared, not knowing what was going to happen. And they said, "Oh, we saw you going." We say, no, don't go there. And you did. So,
But you did.
so they hooked on a strap to us, and then they had no place to hook up the strap to their truck. So they just wrapped it around the rear differential and put it in 4-wheel drive and pulled us out. So that was quite embarrassing, but still fun. It's, obviously that was 10 years ago, and it's something that still sticks out in my mind as being one of the most embarrassing / fun times behind the wheels, for sure.
So what would you call your biggest win on the trail?
I won the Baja 1000. We've finished it twice and won it once. That was probably my biggest accomplishment behind the wheel, for sure.
That is quite the accomplishment. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'd say that's Go ahead.
It wasn't just me. I mean, it's a huge team effort, and I wasn't behind the wheel the whole time, but all of us, I can still say it's mine as well as theirs. It's we all work together.
That's definitely the biggest win we've had on the show.
Awesome.
At least since we've been asking these questions.
I'm glad to top that list then.
So where's your favorite place to wheel?
I love Baja, but definitely the favorite I've been to so far is Moab. I loved it there. I'd go back there in a split second if I was given the chance to. You mentioned that you went through Idaho, the St. Anthony's Dunes. I don't know if you've ever been there before, but we went there last year. It was my first time and absolutely loved it there. I'd love to do the Rubicon Trail someday, but it's a bucket list item. But so far it's Moab.
You are so close to it too.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, you're in California.
Here in California, yeah, that's true. Yeah, close to it. I've still never been on it. My girlfriend has a JK, and I've been lucky enough to use my associations with other companies and people who we work with and whatever, and we've got it outfitted pretty good, and that's on her bucket list too. So one of these days soon we'll take the JK up there and do Rubicon. I've got to take her to Moab first, though. She's never been to Moab, so she's pretty jealous of the fact that I've been there and she hasn't.
So is there any places that you want to go that you haven't gone yet?
Yeah, I said the Rubicon would be one. I definitely, I don't have much experience on the central or east coast of the United States, so I'd love to see some of that stuff. Florida and all the way up into Maine and stuff like that. I've watched videos and seen plenty of wheelings, trips, and doesn't necessarily need to be hardcore stuff like you mentioned. Your trip earlier is a little bit more scenic, but I'd love to get into some of those areas and experience that.
Yeah, that's one of the things we enjoy doing is, besides hardcore stuff, getting out and just traveling the countryside and old trails, or even up here in the Pacific Northwest, you can get on the old Oregon Trail or other
that's
wagon
awesome.
trails and just see old homesteads and stuff. So that's a big thing that our northern Nevada trip's going to be about coming up in a month and a half.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just did a big UTV trip. It started up in a place called Ridgecrest. It's here in California, but it went way up north in through Death Valley, and then stopped at a place called Panamint Springs, and then up and over almost to Mammoth, and then turned and came down. And it was awesome. It was even, like I said, it's close to us, and it was somewhat in our backyard, but it was still places that I'd never seen or experienced yet. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We got to see some old abandoned mines, and there was lakes that were full of koi fish that were a 2-hour drive from anything that was close to civilization. And there's a pond full of koi fish because of all the Japanese people that used to work the mines that filled the ponds and lakes and stuff, underground lakes with koi, and they're still there living today. It's pretty interesting.
That is
cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
They live for a long time, that's for sure.
Yeah, I had no clue about that. So apparently they love to multiply because it was full of them.
So you started racing, and now you're doing more regular trails. Have you started looking at random dirt roads and wondering where they go?
Well, always. Yeah, that's one thing that usually I'm the one that's stuck driving. Not that it's a pain. I love to drive, but I'm always daydreaming, looking out the window, going, wonder where that goes, and someday I'll take that one and see. So, yeah, it's definitely a detriment to my driving, that's for sure.
Oops, left turn.
Yeah.
So now that we've gotten to know you a little bit, let's go ahead and move into Pro Eagle. So what do you do for Pro Eagle?
I'm a general manager for Pro Eagle, but that's really just everything from the beginning to the end. I created Pro Eagle, the Pro Eagle brand, the product, everything from scratch. I went to work 10 years ago for a company called Austin International. And Austin International is a private label manufacturer. We built hydraulic products for Napa Auto Parts and Snap-on and a couple other companies, as well as we manufacture some other parts for like Fabtech and Skyjacker and ProComp and Superlift and a bunch of other companies. But along with what we were supplying to Napa was hydraulic jacks. And coming from the off-road world, we would take a whatever name brand jack and modify it so it would work on Jeeps and trucks and off-road vehicles. It would go through the dirt. We'd put a skid plate on it. We put an extension because obviously the vehicles were taller and they had more wheel travel than what those jacks were made to handle. So I took the idea to one of the customers, and they passed on it and said that it was too small of a market for them and they weren't interested. So we walked out of the meeting and said, well, screw it, we're just going to do it ourselves. So we started working on it, and the first edition of the Pro Eagle jacks was just the standard jack that wasn't a whole lot different than the jacks that we were building for everybody else, other than the fact that it had a skid plate bolted onto it, and it had an extension that would come off and on it, so you can still use it on a small vehicle, but also work on your Jeep or whatever lifted vehicle. And then later on, the revisions came with the larger wheels and then more capacity. And we've seen probably, in addition to the different part numbers and the different lift capacities, we've gone through 60 or 70 different revisions of the jack, just making it better each time. Just different seals and finding out that this doesn't like the dust and the dirt, and what can we do to protect it, and what different materials can we use, and how can we improve it. So like I said, 8 to 9 years ago, it started off as not much different than the jack that we built for other companies. And now it's completely different. It's nothing even close to the same. All the materials in the jack are completely different than what we were supplying to, or currently supplying to, the other name brand companies. And they've declined in moving away from any of those other materials because it makes the jack more expensive, and they had a price point that they wanted to stick with. So we're okay with it being expensive, and it's still a little bit hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. But as soon as you're stuck out there and your jack doesn't go high enough, or you try to use one of the farm jacks or whatever it is, and you go, oh my goodness, then it starts to click and you go, okay, it's worth the extra little bit of money. So, but yeah, I do all of that for Pro Eagle, from, like I said, designing the products and all the sales and the marketing. We have a lot of help in that direction, but I still manage all of it. And like I said, even anything from getting the big deals with our big distributors to changing the toilet paper in the restroom. So.
Well, one of my favorite things you do is your social media stuff. Do you feel like the Wendy's social media person fielding all this crap?
I do. It's when we hit a new market, I can always tell that from the snide comments that people make, and it's definitely okay, or we've never been to this area before, and so they've got some smart aleck comment to say back, and that'll never work, or this will never work, or that'll never be, or you'll never sell any of them. And I just was for a long time just deleting them, and then I figured, well, if you're going to be a troll, then I'll troll you back. So it's been fun. I still delete a lot of comments, but it's been fun to answer some of them back in the same smart aleck way that they asked a question or a statement.
Yeah, one of my.
Well, I was going to say, it's my turn to ask a smart aleck question here. Can it roll over a zip tie?
It can. It's a zip tie destroyer.
Because no other jack seems to be able to.
Yeah, and you know what? I get that question or the statement of it'll never roll over zip tie at least 9 times a day. Every day.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Every day, 9 times a day, I'll get it'll never roll over a zip tie, or can it roll over a zip tie? So
probably because so many people have experienced the jack on a smooth concrete floor, and they're trying to slide it underneath their car, and it just skids on something.
Yeah. What cracks me up is it'll be in a video of it driving through rolling through the dirt over rocks, and they say, "Oh, it still won't roll over a zip tie." Come on.
My favorite comment was the one where someone was like, "This jack appears to fully extend, and the tire goes an inch off the ground," and your response was, "Lifting from the frame through all the droop travel, still pulling the tire an inch. If you want eye level, get a taller extension."
Yeah. Like, what do you want, really? Like, how far do you need to get the tire off the ground to change it?
I know.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Especially when our off-road tires are big and heavy. You don't want to be throwing that up in the air.
And
right.
Unless you could throw it all the way up to, chest height.
Yeah.
Which you're not going to get on a floor jack.
You're not going to get on any jack.
Well, not a floor jack, but.
What I find amazing, though, is usually those people that say that, if you scroll through their profile, they drive a Honda Civic or something like that and have no clue what they're talking about anyways. So.
Or a Honda Ridgeline.
Yeah, exactly. No offense to any of them, but man, if you're going to talk about off-road stuff and have zero experience, then you're opening yourself up to it.
Yeah.
So how do you pick the right size jack?
Honestly, that's a huge problem that we're experiencing. People think the biggest misconception about jacks is people think my vehicle weighs 6,000 pounds, so I need to have a 6,000 pound rated jack. They think that's how it works. And I'm like, no, if it's a 3-ton jack, it will pick up 3 tons. But just because your vehicle overall weighs 3 tons doesn't mean you have to have a jack that will pick up 3 tons. Unless you found some ingenious way to lift from the center of the vehicle and get all 4 tires off the ground at the same time, you don't need a jack that will lift the same amount of weight as your whole entire vehicle. And honestly, I meet people that are my age and seem to be very well off-road experienced that think exactly that. And when I use our brand new 1.5-ton jack to pick up our Jeep with lifted on 37s, and they go, oh, okay, like I can pick up from the frame rail and lift the whole side of the Jeep both side tires off the ground, and they go, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't need this giant 3-ton jack in the back of my Tacoma. So yeah, it's been amazing. I don't mind teaching people. It's when they have the smart aleck attitude that, oh, you don't know. It's it gets me a little perturbed, but I don't mind teaching young guys, and I don't mind teaching older people, as long as I'm helping them to realize that they don't need to carry those giant jacks in their truck.
So what is the benefit of running with a jack with wheels rather than a bottle jack?
Ease of movement, really, that's it. I mean, obviously a bottle jack will do the same job that a hydraulic jack will do. I'm going to get more height out of our jacks, but it's just ease of movement from here to there. A bottle jack is actually going to be take up less room or less space, especially in a Jeep that's where there's very little cargo room as it is. But it's ease of movement and getting it from here to there. The same thing that happens with a bottle jack is exactly what happens with a farm jack, whereas when you lift, the vehicle will move in an arc, and it's going to move away from whatever you're lifting. So same with a farm jack. If you were to put it on a bumper or on the side rock slider or whatever, that vehicle is going to move in an arc away from the jack, and it's going to start to did I lose you? No, it's going to start to arc away from the jack and want to fall off or slide off. Where a bottle jack is going to do the same thing. As you lift, it's going to pull away. Whereas our jack lifts and rolls underneath it, so it always stays center under the load, and it's a much safer situation all the way around.
I'd never thought of that. That's a great description.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Most people don't, and they don't realize that's what makes the farm jacks, other than just being intimidating for a lot of people. It's what makes them so dangerous is the footing starts to move and it gets looser and looser and looser. I was actually at a 4 Parts Truck Fest show, and I won't name them. I can describe what the jack is, though. It's a hydraulic version of the farm jack. And it was being displayed on a Toyota Tundra that had a steel front bumper, and the flooring was carpeted. And a customer walked up and was using it and pumping the jack up, and the Toyota was moving. And just as I described, it was moving away from it, and the jack started leaning and slipped out and hit the guy in the shins, and he had to go out on a stretcher.
Ow.
Yeah. So it was in that manufacturer's booth. So they very quickly put it in the vehicle and didn't display it the very next day. So yeah.
Did he yell a 3-letter word that started with the letter A when
yeah,
hit him in the shins?
He very much did. Yes.
3-letter word that starts with A? Why would you choose that word?
Probably because it's the manufacturer's name.
Oh. Got it now.
So what's the difference between this jack and a standard jack? So why don't you tell us, for the people who aren't watching, I guess even if they were watching, we don't have a jack on our screen right now. What is the difference between this and a regular floor jack that you use in a concrete floor shop?
The biggest difference is going to be, obviously visually the wheels, but we have a built-in skid plate on there, and a lot of people don't necessarily think that that's a big deal until they try to use it in sand or mud or snow or anything like that where the ground isn't solid. If you were to try to use a bottle jack or a high lift jack or any other brand jack, the base is maybe 3 or 4 inches by 4 or 5 inches, whereas our base or our platform that you're jacking from is 1 foot wide by almost 2 feet wide. So it's a larger platform. Yeah, it does have big wheels, but if in the soft conditions, those wheels are going to sink down and it's going to touch that skid plate in the bottom. So your weight is spread on that skid plate rather than in the smaller area of any of the other jacks. Whereas even another floor jack, for instance, has 2 side rails on it and there's nothing in the bottom. So the side rails just act as knives and, press themselves down into the sand or whatever it may be, loose dirt, and you lose a ton of lift height out of it. Eventually you might hit bottom, on something, it's going to, stop. But, you've got a jack that's can only lift, 8 or 9 inches, and it sinks into the ground 2 or 3 inches, and you've lost all your lift and you can't get the tire off the ground anymore. The extension itself is a bigger thing as well. It comes off of it, So, if you do own a Honda Ridgeline or a, Honda Accord or whatever it may be, you can still get the jack underneath those smaller vehicles. But when you add the extension on, then you've got the lift height for your off-road vehicle. So it's we've tried to think of everything, and that's just all the visual and more useful aspects, and then we've got all the internal stuff inside that makes ours special, that keeps the dust and dirt out of things and makes it last longer.
So tell us about the new 1.5 ton jack.
Yeah, we're really excited about that one. We started off with the 2 ton, just the standard one, and then we went to the 2 ton big wheel and the 3 ton. And every time we've come out with a new jack, we've thought like, okay, we've really set the bar. And then we learn other things like, oh shoot, we should have done this on that one. And so the 1.5 ton has all those things that we've learned along the way. It's got a dust boot over the rear springs, and the internal components on the jack inside the hydraulics are far advanced beyond even what they're using in NASCAR. And it's pretty awesome. We wanted to come out with a smaller jack that would bridge the gap between, say, a UTV and the Chevy Colorado, the Ford Rangers, and even the new Jeeps and JKs and JLs. Those don't have any storage space. Anything from a UTV to the Jeep, the storage space on those is extremely small, and you don't want to carry a lot of weight in those either. But you still need the lifting power on a Jeep, and you still need the height in a UTV. Whereas the new 1.5 ton has the best of both worlds. It's still got 2 feet 2 inches of lift height, but it only weighs 38 pounds. So, and it's a fast pump. So a lot of my race guys wanted something that goes quicker. Our jacks are known for lifting far beyond what their rated capacity is, but they go slow. Kind of like a ring and pinion set where, it's you change the gear ratio, you change the hydraulics, and it takes more pumps, but it lifts more weight, and it takes a lot less effort. I got sent a video the other day. There was a toddler lifting up a Ford Super Duty and working the handle. So it's that easy to use. Whereas the 1.5 ton goes faster, so it takes a lot more effort now. But like I said, the guys that are concerned about working on their vehicle or changing the tire quickly, like in racing, wanted that. They loved them. Off-road racing out here in the West Coast, like I said, I just went to a race where all the pits were almost exclusively using Pro Eagle jacks, but this is the next step in helping them get their tires changed a whole lot quicker. So it's pretty awesome. I'm excited about it.
That's really cool. I wouldn't want a toddler doing that with a farm jack. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Good way to launch a toddler.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the Phoenix jack.
The Phoenix is one actually, it's one that another company had made a long time ago and had killed it once they moved into another product that had become more well known for. So they started building off-road lights and moved away from doing that jack. And I came to them and said, hey, what are you guys going to do with this? And well, we're not interested in it at all anymore. It's not our market. And but you guys should take it over, because that's what you do. You don't build lights and sell lights or anything like that at all. And you're the jack guys, and we're the light guys. So we bought the rights to the product from them, and we made a ton of improvements and changes on it. It was back when the Yamaha Rhinos and stuff like that were first coming out. So vehicles really didn't have a lot of wheel travel or height on them. So we changed some things so that it made it work better for vehicles with more wheel travel. And then they threaded in a CO2 cartridge actually into the jack cylinder itself. So as soon as you punctured the seal on the CO2 cartridge, the jack would lift to full lift height, and it would lift immediately. In today's day and age, where people are so happy and aren't necessarily as mechanically inclined because they went out and bought a UTV or whatever on payments and maybe shouldn't be working on them. We didn't want to have the user using something like that. And it actually worked the same exact way, the opposite. Once you went to lower it, you just threaded the CO2 cartridge out of it and it would immediately drop. So
Wow.
so we added a regulator into it, so you can control the lift speed, so you can control the height. You could stop it when you wanted to, and you can lower it when you wanted to, and you can control the lowering as well. So you can lower it an inch or all the way down. So and we put that regulator on there to move the user back away from the jack and away from the vehicle that's going to be moving up and down. So we feel with our improvements, it's made a big change to the jack, and we can't build them fast enough. We literally, we build 500 of them, somehow, some way, I'll get an order the next week for 500 jacks. It's just, I can't catch up. And yeah, it's been fun so far.
Those are definitely some very good improvements.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was an awesome product to begin with, not downplaying it, anything like that at all. We've just made it a little better.
I was just thinking of all the fun pranks you could do with something that dumped all the air at once out of a jack.
Yeah. And actually, and one of the side disadvantages of it is with CO2, when you expel it, the guys from PowerTank can tell you, when you expel it quickly, it gets cold. So people actually had issues where it was freezing to their fingers, and the bottle wouldn't come off. So it's hopefully we've solved all those issues now.
So how many times can you lift a vehicle with those CO2 tanks?
You can get 2 to 3 lifts out of one, but that's consecutive. So I tell people it will go up once and give you the opportunity to go, oh, damn it, I put that in the wrong spot, and lower it down and move it and lift it up again. The problem is that the CO2 will slowly expel itself. So if I tell people that you'll get 2 or 3 uses out of it, they think that, an hour later they can use it again, and that won't quite work that way.
So I have a power tank. Is it something I could use with my power tank?
Absolutely, yes. Power tank has, the only problem is that it needs over 200 PSI. So power tank has regulators that go over it. Their standard ones stop at 200. So if you had a regulator that would go over 200, it will also lift more weight. So currently the only restriction or thing that holds that jack back is the amount of PSI in the small CO2 cartridges. So with power tank, you've got more volume and you've got more PSI. So it would actually work for a Jeep or larger trucks as well.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So what's the rating for the Phoenix?
Currently it's about 1,500, but we don't really have a rating yet for it when it's coupled with a power tank. They came up with and developed an adapter that goes between their tank and hose to our regulator, and they built it specifically for the Phoenix jack. And so far we haven't found anything that it won't lift. Our only concerns are the seals and the rubber the braided steel hose, and what capacity pressures that those are at. So I'm hesitant to tell people that it'll lift 6,000 pounds or whatever, because they're just putting more pressure into it. So I've got to find the failure point of it, and then I can back it off to whatever that safety level is, and we can get certified at, whatever that capacity is. So I've kind of kept it on the down low on as far as that it'll actually lift the Jeep. So you guys are the first people to hear about that, but it definitely will. And we just don't know what the ultimate capacity is. But if you're just lifting a tire or a corner, we've used it to lift our Ultra 4 truck. It's got 42-inch tall tires on it. So it'll lift some weight for sure. We just don't know what it can safely do.
No, that's good of you to actually put out there, hey, you can, but it's being safe about it's the smart thing to do, especially from a liability standpoint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just got to be careful with that kind of stuff today now.
I just wanted to comment really quickly as I was perusing the website. I love products that are over designed and where you go and look at it and go, oh man, you guys thought of everything. I just saw the bubble level on the Phoenix jack.
Yeah,
that's a great touch.
Yeah, Yeah, it's one where like, well, shoot, why not? You know, and a lot of people ask, and then after they use it the first time, they're like, oh, really? That really made sense. You know, after we used it and put it underneath the vehicle, and you know, we went to go lift it up and went, oh, wait a minute, that's not level. You know, it's sitting in the sand, and then said, blah, blah, blah. Not necessarily thinking that you know it would not work correctly if it is sideways, but it's definitely a lot safer when it's flat. Then you run into that same issue that we talked about earlier with you know, the bottle jacks or the farm jacks that want to pull away from the vehicle as it goes up.
So, what do you have any other new products that you can talk about?
The Phoenix is the new one. We're actually just finished a conference call today with a tool company to where all of our jacks have their own specific vehicle mounting kit. So we worked with, we're currently working with the guys at Four Wheel Parts and the guys from Quadratech to develop some more Jeep specific stuff. But one of the concerns with the Jeep guys is, like I mentioned, is lack of storage space. So our jacks have been too big typically for people to carry in a Jeep. So what really helped now to open that opportunity with the 1.5 ton, I still have to go through the same issues with teaching those guys that you don't need a 3-ton jack to lift your 2-door JK, but all of them have a specific stainless steel mount. The handles come apart and sit into the mount, and then the jack sits on top of it. We had typically been putting the handles side by side in the mount and then putting the jack on it. And then we just came up with a way to, not that it was anything special, but we're separating the jacks and putting them on each end of the mount and building a toolkit that goes in the center. So the bag will have laser cut foam, and it'll have the minimum tools that you'll need to change a tire. So it'll have a breaker bar. It'll come with 3 different styles or 3 different size sockets, an extension, a little multi-tool, valve stem remover, a flashlight. So you don't need to go to the store and buy a full impact socket set, you know, and a full breaker bar and stuff just to be able to take with you and change your tires. Aside from the fact that, you know, again, we run into the storage issues where you don't necessarily have room to carry an extra toolbox. So you can carry your tools necessary to change your tire right underneath your jack and store them tightly. So that's one that nobody knows about yet either, but hopefully that'll be out by the end of the month. So you're hearing it here first.
That's awesome. That sounds really cool that you're integrating all those parts in with it, because I mean, what do you use a jack for? For the most part, you're either crawling under the vehicle to take the zip ties off that Rick put on your rig, or you're changing a tire. And why not have all the tools that you need right there with it?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just like that. Just like you said, 99% of the usage a jack is to pull a tire. Even if you've got to work on something beyond the tire, you still got to pull the tire first.
Mm-hmm. One of our listeners on our live chat here says he's got a Jeep. What accessories does he need to lift his Jeep? So if he was going to buy a Pro Eagle jack, what does he need? It says a base and a flat lifting plate.
That's only if he's adapting somebody else's jack. If he bought ours, it's all there. The only thing that he would need additionally is if he wants to carry it in his Jeep when he goes wheeling, and then that's the mounting kit. But as far as the jack itself, all the jacks come with that built-in skid plate. It comes with the extension. So there's nothing extra you need to buy at all. We do offer a taller extension. You know, say if he's going to lift a fully decked out Jeep and he's going to lift from the rock slider or the frame rail, where he's going to be pulling through more wheel travel, then he would need a taller extension. But otherwise, it comes with everything you need.
So he just clarified the airlift apparently is what he's looking at. So the Phoenix.
So the Phoenix. So he's going to try to beat all the Jeep guys to the punch with that. So what he would need is we sell the power tank adapter, or Power Tank also sells it. So they actually carry or have a product called the Power Shot. So the Power Shot is a smaller bottle. It's about maybe a foot tall and maybe 5 or 6 inches in diameter. And it has a hose and attaches right to that adapter. And then the adapter attaches to our jack. So you can adapt that to their larger tanks, but again, those tanks also typically have a regulator that doesn't go past 200, whereas the smaller Power Shot doesn't have a regulator at all. So it's got almost 800 psi, and it delivers that 800 psi directly. So it's got a cool little trigger, so you can go up an inch or you can go up all the way to max lift. So that's what I would recommend. And again, it's small and compact, and they actually have a mount that will go on the roll bar in the Jeep to mount the jack and the Power Shot side by side.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, where can our listeners find you on the interwebs and social media?
Social media, we're just at Pro Eagle. I think it's it's Pro_Eagle. Then our website's Pro Eagle. We actually have Pro Eagle Australia is there as well. We have a large distributor down there. And then our website is just proeagle.com. So made it pretty easy.
It is.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the show. We
Awesome.
might come on and talk some Baja with us sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to talk racing. I can talk any day about racing.
Oh, well, yeah, because you do Ultra 4, Baja. What don't you do when it comes to off-road racing, right?
Yeah, I'd love to. We actually have a Honda that we're working with, Honda directly, and hopefully I'll go UTV racing in the Talon next year. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you divulge what vehicle you're going to be using?
It's a Talon, so it's a two-door UTV.
Talon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's UTV. I'm like, did they come out with a better off-road?
Yeah.
He did
Not
say
yet.
UTV, Ben.
Oh,
Yeah, he did. He did.
Part when I heard Honda.
Yeah, I did too for a second. I'm like, where are we going with a Honda? back to that Honda Civic that he was talking about or something. Maybe he's going to run it in the Gambler.
They actually do have a Honda Ridgeline that they race though, and it's a pretty awesome truck. Other than a Honda emblem on the motor and on the grill, I don't know what else is Honda about it, but it's an awesome truck though, that's for sure.
Yeah, probably not much.
Yeah.
Well, right on, Chuck. We really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, no problem. I was happy to do it, and I'll come back anytime.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening